Time now for another Q&A, and it's been over a year since the last Q&A, so I thought now would be a great time to do one. By the way, thank you so much to everybody that submitted a question for the Q&A. And also, big thanks to all of you, my amazing viewers, subscribers, fans, friends, mods, as well as our heroes, and of course, our members. No matter how you contribute or support the channel, whether it's through subscribing, views, letting others know about the channel, or sharing videos and live streams, liking them, as well as financially supporting us through the super chats or memberships. All of it is a big help to the channel and very much appreciated by me. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody, because in my eyes, everyone that's part of the channel contributes to supporting and growing the channel in your own way. Over the weekend, I gave you all an opportunity to submit a question for me to answer, one per person. And you had two ways to do it, either through a YouTube community post or in our amazing Discord community. And I have the submissions now, and we are going to go over everybody's question that was submitted via, once again, the YouTube community post and Discord. We'll start off alphabetically with a bounty hunter. Who is someone you admire, idol? Because I definitely admire you and Riley. Well, bounty hunter, that really does mean a lot to Riley and me. I mean, we're just two crazy kids that love playing video games and making content and streaming. And we're grateful for all of our viewers, subscribers, and friends we've made over the past several years. And obviously, I'm very grateful for Riley, because without, my channel, I would have never met her. So, yeah. But I appreciate that very much, Bounty Hunter. Both of you are great people, and I hope you keep it up. Thank you very much, Bounty Hunter, and keep doing what you're doing. We're also very proud of you. So somebody that I greatly admire, if we're going to just talk about somebody in my life instead of historical figures, because they can appear like godlike to us, like, say, for example, George Washington, the founder of my country and the Constitution. He was the commanding general in the rebellion against the British. He had his own set of flaws, but let's just talk about somebody in real life that I admire, and that would be my Papaw. He grew up poor during the Great Depression. He told me stories about how he struggled to survive, and by the way, he was orphaned as well. I think he was raised by his grandfather and then some foster parents, but it was a real struggle for him. He told me the story one time how he had 3 pennies and he was struggling to find a 4th penny just so he could buy a loaf of bread. Yeah, 4 pennies doesn't seem like much today for a loaf of bread, but back in the Great Depression period, that was a lot more money financially. And my grandfather also told me stories how he was so hungry that he would dumpster dive just to find some food out of restaurants that were discarded and grocery stores. Despite all that, he still managed to get a public school education. He went to high school, he graduated. He fell in love with my late granny, and eventually he ended up in the Army Air Corps during World War II. Now, the Army Air Corps eventually became known as the United States Air Force. During World War II, he was a flyboy, fighter pilot, and was in training to fly the P-51D Mustang around the time the war ended in 1945. He was actually going to end up going to Korea, but he got out of it. I mean, that would have required him having to learn how to fly the early fighter jets that flew during the Korean War. So he served his country during World War II, and then he went on to college. He actually went to the University of Texas in Austin, and it's interesting that I now live outside of Austin, where my Papaw actually went and got a college degree. He is a Longhorn for life. My Papaw got into the oil and gas business. He made some really good friends while doing it, and one of his really good friends that he met while working for an oil and gas company, he started a business with that became very, very successful. Because of the fact that my granny was unable to have children, she and my Papaw in the 1950s adopted 2 children on separate occasions. The first child they adopted was a little girl, which became my mom. Despite the fact that my late mother and my uncle, well, I have several uncles, but only have one uncle on my mom's side, her younger brother, who's still alive. Despite the fact they were adopted by my Papaw and late granny, they still saw them and raised them like their own children. And that's exactly the same way my Papaw and Granny saw me, as their flesh and blood grandson. And that's exactly how I saw them. It didn't matter to me, and it still doesn't, that they're not biologically related to me. I wish they were, but it is what it is. But I see my Papaw no differently than if he was my Papaw through DNA, flesh and blood, that sort of thing. In my opinion, family is more than blood. It's more than DNA. It's who you're willing to live and potentially die for. I know that quote is loosely from Mafia 3, but in my opinion, it's very true. There's a lot of people that I consider to be family that aren't biologically related to me. Despite losing my mom at a very early age, I was lucky to have some people in my life, like my late father, as well as my Papaw and my granny growing up, and of course my grandma, which was my dad's mom. But throughout my life, I'd spend summers and winter breaks visiting my Papaw and granny, and we'd go on trips together. He taught me a lot about life, a lot of valuable lessons that I still keep to this day. He also taught me how to hunt and how to fish, as well as gun safety and responsibility. I would not have the life that I currently enjoy if it wasn't for my Papaw and all the hard work and sacrifices he made. So I'm very, very grateful towards my Papaw for the life that I obviously have. And it's unfortunate I don't get to see or talk to him as much. After my granny died about 20 years ago, my grandfather remarried, and he's been happily remarried for, well, just about 20 years now, and he lives in Mississippi. Unfortunately, his health is deteriorated a little bit, and he's in his upper 90s, so he's made it to his upper 90s. He's had a phenomenal life, and I do try to get in contact with him whenever I'm able to, but because he's older, because of health issues, it's harder to communicate with him these days, sadly, but I do still try to let others know that I do think about him and I do still love him and I care about him. And I am always going to be grateful for his life and the life that he gave me, as well as my mother and my uncle. So obviously, I greatly admire my Papaw. And it sucks that when you reach a certain age in life, and say your late 90s, that health issues start to come up, and it's heartbreaking. But at the same time, I reflect on the good times and all the lessons I learned because of my Papaw and everything that he's done for me. So thank you, Papaw. I'm grateful for having you in my life as a mentor, as somebody to look up to, as somebody who was one of my first teachers, and someone that helped provide me the life that I'm able to have and try and make something out of it. Now let's move on to Brian. I have a question. Have you written a movie or video game idea? Well, I was, born from creative parents. My mom liked to write poems. My dad also tried to do a bit of writing as well, songs and other things. So I have the creative juices and spark in me, which is a big reason why I have made content over the years on my channels, because of those, creative juices that are in my head. But I have attempted on numerous occasions to write some stuff, some books, even some comics, TV show ideas, movies, even a video game idea, at least one. But none of them really panned out because I would start researching on a video or like a video game or a movie or something like that. The problem I had with writing is that there were times I would have writer's block, or I'd write to the point where I just had no more ideas and I'd kind of like put it on the shelf and never go back to it, or just to outright throw it away and abandon it. But there were plenty of times I had this cool idea and I would start writing it. And then as I do more research, I would come to realize that something very similar had already been written, and I didn't want to be falsely accused of plagiarism. And so I would just halt the idea entirely and say, okay, screw it. Someone else already wrote it. Moving on. But I guess I've always had the passion for writing. I do a lot of writing for my scripts for my videos. And I think it shows sometimes in some of my more interesting videos on this channel, as well as the other channels that I happen to have. So I will cite a few things that I have attempted to write over the years, just basic synopsis. We'll start off with a TV show. It was going to be based loosely off my years in radio, with some versions of people I've met from those times in radio. And it was going to be kind of like, I guess you could say, kind of like a Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul type story, where it's going to be very grounded and realistic. But there was also going to be some more interesting stuff that would happen. But I did write, I think, a few episodes, but in the end, I kind of abandoned the idea. I also attempted to write a movie. There was a movie I did write a rough draft for, and I still have it, but I never did any rewriting for it. I never tried to take it any further than I did. And basically, it was a sci-fi thriller. It was about a greedy corporation that was basically using people's brains in order to create the ultimate supercomputer. Next was this sci-fi series I was making. It was similar to Star Trek, and I went in knowing it was similar to Star Trek because I'm a huge Star Wars, Star Trek fan, but it was going to be kind of a twist. It was set in the future, but instead of the humans being like the leaders of a federation like in Star Trek, our species, our planet, our star system basically ends up getting annexed by some sort of galactic alliance of like systems and other sentient species, obviously more advanced than us. So we find ourselves at the bottom of the ladder instead of at the top, like in the Federation and Star Trek. We're at the bottom. And the alliance that we're part of is one of a few different factions that make up the galaxy. And we end up finding ourselves and our planet and our system caught in the middle. I did come up with one concept for a video game. Well, I've had a few little ideas here and there, but the one that I kind of fleshed out the most, that once again I've just put on the shelf, is this video game that was based around an old war veteran. I guess you could kind of say he was like an older Clint Eastwood, like a Gran Turismo, like Clint Eastwood character. Loosely based, of course, not entirely. But his family put him in a crapping nursing home sometime after his wife passed away. And it was originally a hospital. It had several floors to it. Like the older hospitals. Well, most hospitals today have several floors. Imagine like a older hospital, like 5-6 floors to it. And his room happened to be on the top floor. Now, this nursing home, really bad. Like, imagine like the lowest ratings you could get on Yelp, like 1 star, maybe half a star. That's this nursing home that this old war vet happens to live in. One day, he decides he wants to get out of the nursing home. But unfortunately, this is not a very nice nursing home. It's basically a prison for its patients. They don't really allow them to get out. But the anniversary of the day that he met his late wife is coming up, and he wants to go to this park where they first met and where they spent a lot of time, walking, holding hands, picnicking, falling in love. He proposed to her in this park, so the park means a lot to him. And basically, he's made up his mind, come hell or high water, even if it costs him his life, he's going to get to that park on the anniversary. So it's kind of like a stealth game where he has to fight his way like down from the 6th floor all the way down to the 1st floor in order to escape and get to the park. So along with it being stealthy, I guess kind of like Assassin's Creed, he was also like using lots of stuff that you would see in nursing homes, like bedpans, broomsticks, etc., as weapons against a variety of opponents, such as ex-con orderlies, corrupt security guards, nurses that have been blacklisted from legitimate hospitals in the area. All of it ran by this insane doctor who's basically running this nursing home like it's like a prison. Like he's also the head doctor and the warden, but he's also using the nursing home to conduct experiments as well as torturing these poor patients that have been abandoned by their families or are just there because of the government paying to have them there. So you hear a lot of like patients in the background, like rambling, like unfortunately, as you would hear in numerous nursing homes, because I've visited a few people in nursing homes in their final years and months. But unfortunately, these patients are also being treated horrifically, just like this war vet. But the difference is the war vet has combat experience. He served in a previous war. I don't know if it's the Vietnam War. The point is he has military experience. And for an older guy, he's still in pretty good shape. But he's finally had enough of the abuse to fellow patients in this nursing home, and he wants to get the hell out in order to get to that park for the anniversary of his late wife, and he's going to do whatever it takes in order to get out of that hospital, floor by floor. And he ends up making some allies along the way, and not all the nurses or orderlies or security guards are bad. There might be like one or two good ones that help, that just ended up working in this nursing home facility because of, an unfortunate series of events or mistakes they made. And there might be a few patients that help him as well. So I never completely fleshed out that idea for a video game, but I always thought it was kind of a cool concept that could have been either a movie or a video game, but I kind of leaned towards making it a video game instead because of the options. And of course, there'd be like different outfits you could put on. So you could like fool orderlies by putting on an orderly outfit temporarily, or a security guard outfit, and some other wacky outfits you could just randomly put on your character. And maybe it would have some like RPG buffs to the outfits. You could set up like traps. You could like knock out orderlies, but obviously some would be more tougher than others. So yeah, Brian, those are pretty much some ideas I've come up with over the years. But I've always had a kind of a creative writer's bug. I just really can't help but scratch that itch. And I think that that's one thing I like about my channels, is it allows me a place to put my ideas and my thoughts in different ways. But who knows, maybe one day I'll decide to go back to one of these ideas I mentioned, or a completely different idea, and make something out of it, whether a TV show, a book, a video game, etc. Next question comes from my good friend Kane. Is there any games coming out soon that you're looking forward to? Well, to be honest, Kane, for the most part, the games that are coming out the rest of this year, 2023, I'm kind of on the fence about. Well, except for Spider-Man 2. Obviously, you're excited about Spider-Man 2. Destiny Metal and many others are looking forward to Spider-Man 2. I still need to finish Miles Morales before I play Spider-Man 2. So that's on the list for me to accomplish prior, because last year I played through the first Spider-Man game. I really enjoyed it. So before I play Spider-Man 2, obviously I need to go play Miles Morales. But there are some games besides Spider-Man 2 I'm kind of looking forward to, but whether or not I actually end up buying them and playing them remains to be seen. I'm just going to probably wait for reviews. Assassin's Creed Mirage, I like the fact that Ubisoft is going back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. This does remind me a lot of the original Assassin's Creed game with Altair, and I still have my physical copy of Assassin's Creed. It was a gift from a friend of mine a long time ago when the game first came out. If it gets decent reviews, I might be interested in heading off to Baghdad and try out Assassin's Creed Mirage. Other games, I'm obviously a huge Batman fan, and I am kind of on the fence about Batman Arkham Trilogy for the Nintendo Switch. It's been years since I played any of the Arkham games, but I absolutely love them, from Arkham Asylum to Arkham City and Arkham Knight. If that turns out to be decent, maybe I'll consider doing a playthrough. But then again, WB has a history of copyright claiming the music in their games, even if it's supposed to be part of the game, the score. Fair use, WB. So then again, I might get it just to play it off stream, because I don't want to deal with WB's nonsense. They already gave me a copyright strike earlier in the year because of my coverage of Suicide Squad, which is also being made by Rocksteady. Forza Motorsport, I think that's going to come to Game Pass, so I might check that out. But my friend and I were talking about that, I think a week or so ago, or a few weeks ago, and he didn't seem very impressed with what he saw so far. So I'm kind of on the fence about Forza Motorsport. The next couple of games I'm looking forward to is RoboCop Rogue City. Peter Weller is going to be voicing RoboCop from RoboCop 1 and 2. So I'm kind of interested in this game. I hope it turns out to be good. And the final game that I'm kind of sort of interested in is Cities Skylines 2. I played a little bit of Cities Skylines, but I'm really interested in all the improvements that's going to be in Cities Skyline 2. It's also going to be made for the platforms, like for console, not just for PC, and then ported over. So maybe it'll be more friendly for PS5 and Xbox Series than its predecessor, because I used to be a huge SimCity fan back in the day. So if that turns out to be good, I might be interested in checking out Cities Skylines 2. Next, dearly beloved, who's been around for quite a while now, so long he remembers my old gamer tag, which I had prior to launching the channel over 9 years ago. I changed it to GeauxBurns, which is my channel's official name, sometime after launching the channel back in 2014. Will you ever revisit your old vlog topic videos, possibly do an updated version of them along with Riley, camera shy fox? She's definitely camera shy. I don't think any of you are ever going to get a face reveal from her. But regarding the old topic-centric vlogs that I used to do prior to the monthly vlogs, this was before Riley had become part of the vlogs channel and before she moved in with me over 2 years ago. I used to do these topic and themes for the vlogs, but the problem is I ran out of ideas or inspiration to the original version of the vlogs, which you can still find over on the vlogs channel, just buried deep down over on the vlogs channel. But if there's any quote-unquote revisits, they're most likely going to be found over on GB Fang. Case in point, I recently did a alien reveal in 2027 video, which could be seen as a sequel or a revisit of my aliens vlog from many years ago. Next question comes from Kari. What videos have you done that you're most proud of? And I'm glad you put S in there so I didn't have to pick one video out of several thousand, I think over 4,000 to be precise. Well, a lot of those are streams as well, but I think a huge chunk of them are videos. Yeah, I've been making a lot of videos on this channel for over 9 years. I went over the list of the most popular videos, and I wrote down a small list of some of the ones I'm mostly proud of. Maybe I leave one or two off. Hey, it's been 9 years. And as I've already cited, I've made several thousands of videos on this channel. All right, so let's start off with the biggest video on the channel. Some of you are probably wondering, of all the videos on the channel, GB, which one has the most views? My Red Dead Online Beginner's Guide video. It has nearly 280,000 views. Another video, which is also a guide, is my Red Dead Redemption Poker's Guide video. And the reason why I cite these two is because a lot of people over the years have compared me to either Tom Hanks, Norm Macdonald, or somebody else. I forgot who the third person was. But anyways, the big to-do is a lot of people have watched my guides, whether it's my Red Dead Online Beginner's Guide, my Poker Beginner's Guide, my Red Dead Redemption Multiplayer Beginner's Guide, my Red Dead Online Outside the Map Guide, or all the other guides I've made. And they have been very, very grateful for the guides. And they have actually helped people that have watched the guides. So that is something I'm very proud of, is the guides that I've made, and hopefully maybe one or two of those guides helped you out. I'm also proud of a lot of the idea videos I've had. Yeah, I've had some silly, wacky, maybe even dumb idea videos here and there, but I've always enjoyed the ideas videos. As I've cited already, I do have these creative juices, thanks to my parents, partially, and for my own ideas that I've mentioned for some TV shows and movies a moment ago. But video-wise, two of them I'll mention is my ideas for Red Dead Redemption 3. I really enjoyed making that video. And my ideas for Red Dead Online 1908. That is a video idea I had been brainstorming, I think, for a few months before I decided to finally make it. It was my way of trying to reboot Red Dead Online. The idea videos are kind of twofold. One, me putting my ideas out there and seeing how you interact with my ideas, your thoughts about them, whether you liked them or disliked them, and maybe you add something to it, your own spin, your own hot take on it. And that's why I love reading the comments. Maybe, just maybe, one or some of my ideas have found their way to Rockstar Games and have been incorporated into future DLCs or future games that they happen to be making. Whether I ultimately get credit for that or not, don't really care. I do take credit, though, for the changes to the Stallion roof, because I did do a few videos on that early on, how I thought we needed like different options for the Stallion's roof, from like a hard top to a soft top to convertible. And because of those videos, I think they did reach somebody at Rockstar, and they did actually make those changes to the Stallion. So I will take partial credit for that. But basically, the idea videos are just for fun. I enjoy making them. And if in the future one of my idea videos ends up becoming a thing in a future video game, then maybe, just maybe, at the very least, they'll just send me like a t-shirt. Or at the very least, just don't screw up my idea. Another idea video that I really enjoyed making is my Mafia 4 wish list, which is basically an ideas video. My vision for what Mafia 4 could or would be if Hangar 13 sitting around like, oh man, we're trying to come up with an idea for Mafia 4. What are we going to do? Well, there you go. Feel free to use some or all of my ideas, and if you want to, cut me a nice little check and give me some credit, I wouldn't mind that at all. Rockstar or Hangar 13 or any other studio that wants to use some of my ideas. I wouldn't mind being a contract writer on the side. The GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition Who's to Blame video. I personally am proud of this video because at the time I felt like a lot of people were only blaming Grove Street Games for the failure of the GTA Trilogy Defective Edition, as I call it, but they're not the only ones to blame. As I cited in that video, most of the blame ultimately goes to Rockstar for not doing the remasters in-house, and Take-Two, their publisher parent company, for being the ones that did it on the cheap and rushed the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition out the door for a November 2021 release. Originally, that same release date was supposed to be for GTA 5 Enhanced Expanded Milk Edition, but that got delayed till March of 2022, which is why I believe they moved up the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition much sooner than whatever the original release date was going to be, because it's apparent that GTA 3 was mostly done with some issues, a bit more issues in Vice City, but a lot of problems with GTA San Andreas. So if at the very least of that video, I made people think about who they should cast blame on and not completely throw it towards Grove Street Games, a small studio that had, 24 employees at the time, while completely ignoring Rockstar and Take-Two's blame when it comes to the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, then mission accomplished. The next video I'm really proud of is my GTA Online timeline video. It was a discussed video from like 6 years ago. And this was before it became official that the GTA Online timeline had moved up to present day, because from like the original launch of GTA Online nearly a decade ago, coming up on October 1st, to I think Ill-Gotten Gains 1 and 2, those DLCs were set in 2013, 6 months prior to the main story events of GTA 5. But somewhere along the way, myself and others noticed that there were some changes being made with the DLCs, which contradicted the original storyline or timeline of GTA Online, which was setting GTA Online after the events of GTA 5. So I made a video about it. I cited some examples at the time, and I caught a lot of flack from people. But you know what? I turned out to be right. Obviously, I'm very, very proud of my timeline video. And since that video, there have been numerous other DLCs that have once again proven the point that GTA Online's timeline has shifted from 6 months prior to GTA 5 to quote-unquote modern day, especially with the contract update. My original video, Bolingbroke Penitentiary. I'm proud of this video because it was the first step forward on this channel. Without Bolingbroke Penitentiary, without my idea of putting bad sports into Bolingbroke as punishment, this channel would have never launched over 9 years ago. It took that one video, that first step, and many other steps after that in order for me to get where I am right now with my channel, with the subscribers, the viewers, the friends I've made, as well as my fiance Riley. None of that would have been accomplished if I wouldn't have taken that first brave step and made that first video over 9 years ago with my Bolingbroke Penitentiary video, which is at the bottom of my ideas playlist. And the final video I'm going to cite that I'm proud of is Red Harlow is not Uncle. Very similar to the GTA Online timeline discuss video, I have caught flack from those that mistakenly believe that Uncle and Red Harlow are one and the same, but it's okay. I've seen those comments, I've seen their novels, and tell me why I'm wrong and call me all sorts of wonderful names, sticks and stones, right? But until Rockstar comes out and says that Red Harlow is Uncle or Uncle is Red Harlow, I stand by my belief that Uncle is not Red Harlow and Red Harlow is not Uncle. So those are a few videos that I am proud of. Moving on to Marcus. What other job do you do to earn an actual stable income? I remember you were in radio before, but you quitted the industry and you mainly do YouTube for entertainment and a hobby, which is true. But I would like to know, do you have any other employments to pay the bills and property? I'm going to go ahead and state for the record right now that YouTube does not pay my bills. On a good month, it might be part-time money that I'm getting. But my advice to any aspiring content creators or streamers out there, don't get into Twitch, YouTube streaming, or content creating if you think you're going to make a ton of money doing this, because I got news for you. You're not. Unless you're extremely lucky and you put a lot of hard work and effort into your channel and streaming and content creating and somehow you just blow up. Even if that happens and you're able to make this a career financially, it's most likely not going to make you rich. It'll just make you enough money to survive off of, to pay the bills and put a roof over your head and maybe get you a decent vehicle. In other words, I seriously doubt it's going to end up getting you a mansion, sports cars, yachts, and private jets. Now, as Marcus correctly cited, I did spend several years in radio, which barely paid the bills. But I also had a college degree. I eventually started some small businesses. Most of them didn't exactly pan out, but I learned from my grandfather about investing, so I made some good investing choices in my life. And as I mentioned earlier, big thanks to my Papaw for the life that I'm able to have without needing to work a 9-to-5 or a back-breaking job. Since I relocated from Louisiana to Central Texas a few months ago to be closer to my sisters, brother-in-laws, and nephews, I have been trying to brainstorm an idea for a new small business to start or get into. So far, I really haven't come up with anything, but fortunately, I don't have to at the moment. But I'm always trying to think ahead, plan ahead, be smart with my investments, not be too crazy on how I spend my money. But once again, as I've talked about earlier, I'm where I am in my life because of my Papaw. I'm extremely grateful for everything that he's done for me. And everything I've done since, like from going into radio and the small businesses, even all the ones that didn't work out. And even today, I still try to find some sort of path forward that will make him proud of me and end up making me a success in my own right. But in 2023, the struggle for that is definitely real with the pandemic, with unemployment, with all the issues going on in the world. One thing I have definitely learned from the small businesses that I have launched is that even if you have a good idea and you put all this time and effort and you invest some money into it and you spend countless hours doing it yourself, only employee like CEO, janitor, everything else in between, there's still a good possibility it will fail. And unfortunately, that's just the reality. So it's always a struggle to try and figure out what kind of small business I would like to launch in the future that won't be a failure, that will actually become successful, big enough to where maybe I can hire some employees, give them some jobs and give them a wage and be able to make a little extra for myself on the side and also take pride in something that I have built. But unfortunately, that is easier said than done. But my advice to anyone that is looking to get into a career, especially if you're younger and you have all these opportunities before you. I know they're not what they once were, especially with the way the economy is. The sooner you're able to figure out what career path you want to take, the better off you're going to be, especially if you are determined to make that a reality and understand that not everybody has to go to a four-year college. You don't have to bury yourself in student debt. There's a lot of good jobs out there through technical colleges, even community and junior colleges, trade schools that you can find a good paying, hardworking, but good paying career path to go into. Four-year colleges are not for everybody, and a lot of those degrees that you end up spending that time and that money and burying yourself in student debt to get, sadly, a lot of them end up not being worth it in the end. I've also thought about getting into like voice work or voice acting, but there's so many people doing that now, and like with Fiverr, I really just don't know if anybody would be willing to pay me any money to do voice work or let alone voice acting. And even though I admire a lot of voice actors out there for like animated TV shows and movies and video games, I know they don't exactly get paid that much, but I guess what they get paid is better than nothing, I suppose. Next, let's go to Ram King. What gaming company is arguably the worst? EA, Activision, and why? I cannot give you an answer as to which one is the absolute worst because I think most of them are horrible in their own way. EA sucks because of EA Sports. They milk the same game every single year, but the sports gamers buy that same game and all the microtransactions every single year. So it's also on the sports gamers out there who continue to buy Madden every single year. It's the same game every single year. And Angry Joe has ranted about that same game every single year, along with all the other sports games that they happen to have. Activision isn't much better. I mean, they've been kind of doing the same thing with the COD franchise almost every year, just changing it a little bit. For example, you have Modern Warfare 3 coming, which started off as a $70 DLC for Modern Warfare 2. They've killed off Warzone 1. And to make matters worse, they're not letting players transfer over the skins and cosmetics that they purchased from Warzone 1 to Warzone 2. And don't get me started about the nonsense and microtransactions when it comes to Overwatch 2 as well as Diablo 4. But you could also say that Embracer Group or Take-Two are some of the worst video game publishers in the industry. It's really hard to pick and choose which one is the worst, but most of them suck. Next, we go to Snake. Name a console you regret buying. So I thought about this for a quick minute, Snake. And to be honest, I couldn't think of any console that I regretted purchasing because I found some fun out of each one. But I will cite one that I almost bought that I probably would have regretted that still hasn't come out yet. So I've mentioned my Papaw a few times. One thing I did not talk about until now is that he was also a gamer, believe it or not. He had an Intellivision, which was the console that competed against the Atari. That was the first console war, Atari versus Intellivision. So I used to play a lot of the Intellivision games with my Papaw, and I guess I'm kind of nostalgic about Intellivision. I have Intellivision Live's physical copy for the original Xbox. I still can use it on my 360. And a few years ago, Intellivision was resurrected, and they had announced that they were going to launch a new console, the Intellivision Amico, and I was really excited about it. They were going to bring back the old games and update the graphics, and it was kind of a big to-do. And I was this close to actually pre-ordering an Intellivision Amico. But there's been so many delays and setbacks. I honestly don't know if the Intellivision Amico is ever going to come out. So yeah, that is a console I regret almost buying and pre-ordering. Now, maybe it'll eventually come out. Perhaps around the 12th or never, or when hell freezes over. I guess the moral of the story is I'm just going to wait till the Amico comes out and see what people think about it and then decide myself whether or not it's worth purchasing. But you know what? That's a good question for anyone that's made it this far in the Q&A. Sometimes I do a little mini reverse Q&A. What is a console that you, yes, you have purchased that you regret? Feel free and let me know below in the comments section. Next, let's go to Tokyo Tent. What is some advice you would give someone who wants to start live streaming? I watch your streams, content, enjoy watching them, which makes me want to do streams of my own. But I work 9 to 5 days a week, plus I have real life responsibilities, a girlfriend, doggo, etc. Keep up the amazing work, both Riley and you. Well, thank you very much, Tokyo Tent, and to everybody that watches my streams and content, as well as all my members, like Tokyo Tent, means a great deal to me. So my advice to you and to any aspiring content creator or streamer, I know I've mentioned this earlier in the Q&A, but I think this is an important question because every day more and more people are getting into live streaming and content creating, thinking they're going to become the next big content creator or streamer. Do not get into live streaming to make money or get rich. Think of it as a hobby that might also become a part-time gig. It's going to actually probably cost you money and time depending on your setup. You're going to probably need a pretty decent PC in order to properly stream, as well as a game capture, a microphone, unless you're just going to stream straight through, like for example, a PS4 or a PS5, or I think maybe an Xbox Series. But at the moment, the only way you can stream directly to YouTube with a console is either with a PS4 or a PS5. I don't think that's the case with Xbox One or Xbox Series. You're going to have to learn how all this stuff works together. Your PC, setting that up properly, and getting a proper game capture. I've been using Elgato forever, so I highly recommend Elgato. Expensive, but for the most part, pretty reliable. You might want to also get a microphone because you increase your chances of gaining an audience by actually talking during live streams. I know there's some out there that do Let's Plays and stream that don't do any commentary. That's your choice, but at the same time, that hinders your ability to be unique and interact with an audience when it comes to live streaming or content creating. The microphones I've used for the longest time are Blue Yeti USB microphones. Decent enough quality, not the best out there in the market. If you really want an amazing professional sounding microphone, that's going to cost you a lot more money than a Blue Yeti, which in itself is, kind of pricey. Depending on which USB microphone you go with, there's not just Blue Yeti, there's other models out there. But I advise whatever you do when it comes to PC, a game capture, a microphone, do some research, look up reviews, and find the best in the budget that you wish to allot yourself with when it comes to a microphone, game capture, PC, because you want to get the best equipment that you can afford with whatever you're going to end up spending for your live streaming. Webcam, optional. Not everybody webcams. Obviously, Riley, my fiance, she doesn't webcam. She never wants to show her face. And that's her right. As a content creator and a live streamer, you do not have to show yourself in a webcam. It's kind of like a Pandora's box. Once you open that box, it cannot be undone. But for anybody starting off, a microphone is fine. But eventually, if you want to get a webcam, I like to use Logitech's. They're not too expensive. And for webcam, it's a decent quality webcam. The broadcast software I use is OBS. It's a free software. And by the way, if you want to learn more about any of this stuff I mentioned, there's other content creators, other YouTube channels out there dedicated to giving you tips and tricks and showing you the ropes and teaching you about OBS and how to properly set up that, as well as your game capture, etc. You're also going to have to decide what platform you want to stream on. Are you going to stream predominantly on YouTube, on Twitch? Then once you have all that lined out, then you got to decide, okay, what am I going to stream? Am I going to stream a specific game or a franchise of games like the GTA franchise or the Red Dead franchise? Or am I going to stream open world games or racing games or horror games? This is important for any streamer, especially if you want to grow your channel on YouTube or Twitch, because the more focused you have your streaming, the easier you're going to be able to grow an audience. For example, if all I did was focus on nothing but GTA all the time, my channel would be much, much larger. But obviously I don't want to do that. I like having some variety. That's why I have the Trinity, GTA, Red Dead, Mafia, and some other games here and there as well. If it's Viva Variety, then that's your choice. It's your channel. You have a right to stream almost whatever you want to. But it's going to be easier to grow your live streams, even if you're doing it, say, once a week or once every other week or once a month, by sticking specifically with a type of game like open world or GTA or Red Dead. But you do want to try to have some sort of schedule in place. I realize, Tokyo, that you have real life, and like so many others do, you have a job or school 5 days a week plus other things going on like your girlfriend, your dog, family, friends, etc. But if you're going to live stream, you want to try and have some sort of schedule in place like I do. I try to reserve my weekends most of the time to streaming like 12 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. UK, Saturday and Sundays. Even though I have real life stuff going on during the week, I do like to allot some time so that I can live stream. My advice is to try and do something similar. Come up with a night that works best for you to just sit there and live stream. Start off short, maybe like an hour stream or 2 hour stream, and then eventually just keep doing it over and over again on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks or once a month, and see if you like it. And if you enjoy doing it, then just keep doing it. But try to make a schedule out of it so that whenever you do grow like subscribers or followers, they come to expect you streaming at a certain time, at a certain day of the week. But you definitely want to do this for fun because you just have a passion to do it. And there's a game or some type of games that you just want to stream. But don't expect to have any viewers when you first start. You might be lucky to get one viewer. But a lot of times you might get 6 viewers or 5 viewers. But always be grateful for anybody that comes by to watch your live streams. The way I look at it is every single number that I get is a person that chose to spend some time with me, whether it's one of my videos or one of my live streams, whether the live stream gets 100 views or 1,000 views. I'm grateful for each and every person that decided to watch this video or this live stream. And the big reason why you want a microphone is you add uniqueness to your live streams, which allows you to comment about the game you're playing, to react to what you're doing in the game, some funny stuff or some salt like I do on occasion. and more importantly, interact with that audience. Because if you continue to live stream on a regular basis, even if it's once a week, eventually you are going to find some subscribers and viewers or followers. And there are those that want to interact with you via the live chat. And you want to be able to, at the very least, say hi to them whenever they show up. And they say, "Hi, Tokyo Tint." And you want to say, "Hi, so-and-so." And if they ask you a question, you want to be able to respond. And the quickest and easiest way to do that, instead of stopping and typing a response to them, is with a microphone, with your own voice. So you definitely want to learn to interact with your viewers and subscribers from the get-go. Just think of streaming like any other thing you want to do, any other hobby or passion or career path you want to take. It's like a skill tree in a video game. You start off at the bottom, but you progress, you do it more and more, you rank up, you get better at it over time. You will come a long ways to that first time you live stream. And my advice is keep that first live stream and on occasion go back to it, listen to parts of it, and you'll see how far you've come since the very first live stream you ever did. You might not notice any improvements in the second or third or fourth live stream, but a few months later, you'll start feeling a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable, and knocking off those rough edges as you improve your skill tree when it comes to streaming. So I do wish you, Tokyo Tint, and any other aspiring streamer or content creator the best of luck, but don't get into it for money. Just do it because you have a passion to stream or content create, and obviously for fun. And finally, my good friend, UG Outlaw. Name a game you regret buying or streaming. You can't say Saints Row, that's too easy. Poor Red, another friend of ours, he streamed Saints Row in name only the other night because I think it was free on PlayStation Plus. And it was torture for like 2.5 hours for him. So Red, I would advise you just to delete that game and move on with your life. Don't make the same mistake Riley made or my other friend Pat, the professional, made by playing through the game start to finish. It's not worth it. But okay, so a game besides Saints Row 2022. That's actually an easy answer, UG Outlaw. It was a game I think I played earlier in the year. Like a Dragon Ishin. Now, I was going into this game mistakenly thinking it was going to be similar to Ghost of Tsushima. Not open world similar, because obviously it's not an open world game. It's more of like an open hub game, like a Dragon Ishin. I just like the setting of it, but I never played the Like a Dragon franchise, and I had a few people warning me that maybe this wouldn't be a good idea, GB. Like, they liked the fact that I was trying something different, but some of them told me in confidence that they thought that it may not work out. And I was like, nah, it'll be fine, until I actually streamed Like a Dragon Ishin. And yeah, I never went back to Like a Dragon Ishin either. It's not a bad game. It just wasn't for me. But Saints Row 2022, the reason why I never streamed it again was because that was, in fact, a very, very, very bad game. Thanks again for the questions, UG, and everyone else that submitted your question for Q&A 2023. And once again, thank you to all of you, my amazing viewers, subscribers, fans, friends that I've made over the past 9 years on this channel, including my beloved fiance, Riley, who has a birthday coming up. So happy early birthday, my love. As well as my amazing Super Chat heroes and members who have decided to do more than simply subscribe to the channel, liking the videos and streams, or just watching or just hanging out whenever I'm streaming. That is enough. I appreciate all of you that do that. It means a lot to me. But for those of you that have also financially contributed to the channel, that is going above and beyond. Obviously, greatly appreciated, never required. But as the old saying goes, every little bit helps, right? But for anyone else still here at the very end, a year from now, hopefully I'm still here. Hopefully you're still here as well. And I haven't mentioned it yet, or I haven't really thought about it. Maybe somebody just mentioned to me, a little birdie in my ear in Discord, or a comment, or in a live chat of a future stream. Hey, GB, it's been a year. When's the next Q&A? Just let me know if you don't mind, because I would love to come back and do this again a year from now, hopefully, for Q&A 2024.